Joseph, thank you, and Virginia Soybean Association. Thank you all for putting this on, the invitation today. I'm Robert Harper. I work for the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. I work out of our home office just west of Richmond in Goochland County. I invite any of you all, if you're in that part of the world, to stop by, and I'd be glad to give you a tour. Thanks to all the Farm Bureau members who are in the audience, all the work y'all do at your county level. Nothing we get done at Farm Bureau would be done without you. We do have 88 county Farm Bureaus across the Commonwealth, and if you're not a member, check us out online and join. We really appreciate it. This is our 95th year in existence, and it's the 50th year. We're coming into the 50th year of the Grain Division. It's a typical grassroots program started by Farm Bureau in the late 1960s. A bunch of farmers from 23 counties got together and said, we want access to more destinations to sell our product to. We would like access to more trucks, and we would like to be able to buy and sell futures and options directly. It took them about 5 years to get the division off the ground, and it started in 1972. And myself and my co-worker Josie Moore, we're the 5th and the 6th merchandisers in that 50-year history. So what a year it's been. Josie and I spend our day talking to Farm Bureau members on the phone. We live in our little cubes, and we're talking to Farm Bureau members. We're buying corn, wheat, beans, and barley. We're selling it to about 30 different destinations that we deliver to in 4 states. And we've got a really phenomenal team of carriers, of truck drivers, and some of you in this audience are connected to some folks that help us, that get all those bushels delivered every year. So it's a big cooperative effort between a whole lot of people. When we think about the last year, if we look back a year ago, we want to talk about price direction for soybeans, and it's amazing to hear you all talk about the inside of a soybean. That's phenomenal, and I think I could listen to you all talk all day about the production side. We've got some phenomenal farmers in Virginia. They're really good at growing soybeans, and I catch them on the tail end after all y'all's hard work has gone into it, and they've got the emotional decisions to make. When do we sell, and how much do we sell at one time? Last September, we were a few months into a lot of governments around the world printing a lot of money. That drew the attention of speculators from all over the world into agricultural commodities. And we saw early on in September, we're 12 months in, to a huge basket of agricultural commodities start to creep up on the futures board in Chicago and on other futures exchanges as well. What happened as those prices went up, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. It brought more speculator money and more speculator money. And at the same time, we saw one of our biggest, well, not one of, our biggest soybean partner that we sell beans to. We saw China, after several years of rebuilding their hog herd, we saw the demand for soybean meal come back at the same time that we saw speculator interest come into the futures part of your cash price. And we went to 10-year highs. It was a beautiful thing. We went to 10-year highs, and where are we at today? Where we're at today is we're still at profitable price levels, and we have a lot of influences on futures price that all of you in the soybean world need to keep your mind on. Remember, in Brazil, the government there puts a planting moratorium on their producers. The planting moratorium has just been lifted, and farmers are going to the field right now as we speak in 2 of their states planting soybeans. The next 90 days, that's going to have a huge impact on futures price and on what you get for cash beans at your bin. So keep your mind on that. And one of the amazing things that makes me grin in one way and makes me shudder a little bit in another, the Brazilian farmer is going to try to plant, when you convert hectares to acres, they're going to try to plant 1 million acres of soybeans this year. So that's remarkable. Remember, the USDA has our current number. We're going to harvest 86 million acres of soybeans is the current number in the United States. 50 bushels is the expected average yield across those 86 million acres. That's all y'all's hard work over many, many years. That's a 4 billion bushel crop in the U.S. And remember, we're going to typically crush those beans. We're going to use half of those beans in the United States, and we're going to export raw beans or meal or oil out of the other half of those beans. So if we're going to maintain price levels where we're at today, we know Brazil's a big influence. They're going to the field to plant. But the other influence we need to see our partners that buy your soybeans come back at the levels they were at last year, where we had record-breaking demand. There was a period in March and April when the USDA releases the flash sales announcements every day at 9 o'clock, that we had beans being sold every day. Every day at 9 o'clock, the USDA would issue a flash sales announcement, and you would see the speculators buy the futures in Chicago, and the board would go up. The farmers would call in, whoa, should I sell some of my new crop beans? They're up 20 cents today. Well, the next day they were up 20 cents, and the next day they were up 20 cents. And we went almost all the way to $15 before that rally petered out, really. So think about that. Think about another big influence that's going to be coming on soybean, and y'all have alluded to it some today, and that's, we always debate about these little protein pills, right? What drives price? Do raw beans, the bean futures drive price? Does soy oil futures drive price? Or does soybean meal drive price? We've been in a long time right now where raw beans have been driving that price, but with all of the interest in renewable fuel and biodiesel, you all are reading about multiple plants being built literally as we speak in the United States, and more on the books, that we have the potential for a lot of our oil to go off of our kitchen table and to go into the fuel industry. So investigate that a little bit. It's going to be a big deal in the future going forward. So big influences on price. How many acres is Brazil going to plant? What's the United States final yield going to be this year? Will demand come back like we had last year in order to elevate price? Remember, our government price last year, what the government said the average bean price was $10.90 a bushel. This year they've got it at $12.90 a bushel, and that's because we're using a lot more of what we're growing, and there's very little left at the end of the marketing year. So a lot of optimism, but we need that demand. We're going to have to see demand coming back in those flash sales announcements. I'm going to enjoy meeting some of y'all that I haven't met before while we share a meal together. I wish y'all a great harvest season, and it's been a pleasure being here with y'all today.